we'll do a Q&A on talents. So if you have any question, now it may be challenging for me to showcase things from other classes because I'm obviously on my Nightweaver right now, but if you have any talent related questions, let's go through those now. New word complain, yeah, maybe. So for example, one thing I can start off by saying is, as a Nightweaver, you're going to be running Forging Foundation and Hasten Cooldown. That is our bread and butter talents, in addition to our main Art of Incineration. Art of Incineration, you're going to run full right side as a Nightweaver. L. Carter asks, have I ever used the crit damage talent? And the answer is yes. The Bloodlust talent, the crit damage talent, is in fact the preferred DPS talent. Now, the only reason I'm not running Voice of Bloodlust as a Nightweaver is because as Nightweaver's mechanics are centered around the Blazing Shadow debuff, Forging Foundation plus Hasten Cooldown is simply the best DPS combination, and swapping any alternative talent to here, you absolutely can't swap Forging Foundation because you need the attack speed. But any alternative to Hasten Cooldown is a DPS loss, even the crit damage from Bloodlust. So unfortunately, if I was not a Nightweaver, I would be running Bloodlust. So next class change, I would probably run Bloodlust, yes. What would be the best for healer DPS? I don't remember offhand, but I believe you could run... Yeah, you could run Bloodlust. I think it would be good for healer DPS. Nicola asked, does the 5% frequency on the talent add on attack speed on normal hit, or is it on skill? So, this attack frequency here from Forging Foundation, so it's 5 plus 3 is 8%. This gives you 13% attack frequency. If we go back and look here, check this out. Right now, I have 178.3% attack speed, and watch what happens when I do this. Now I have 157.5% attack speed, so it is directly adding to your attack speed percentage chance here. That's what it means by attack frequency. It is another word for attack speed percentage. So it is basically the stat. Attack speed percentage is what it's giving you. And yes, attack speed percentage does increase both your basic attack speed and active attack speed. Caleb asks, why is the Turning Point talent helpful for healers? So Turning Point talent is not just helpful for healers, it's helpful for anyone, but mostly healers and tanks in hard content like trials. But even a DPS might justify running Turning Point at some point. So what Turning Point does, which I'll swap to now, Turning Point is probably the most important talent that you can know about. Because there's always going to be a situation, you're always going to run into a fight, you're always going to run into some need for you to run Turning Point. It might not be as often if you're a DPS, but you still need to know how it works. So Turning Point has Unyielding State talent in it, which when you take fatal damage, you become invincible for 10 seconds, and can only be triggered once per battle. So this is a free get out of jail free card once per battle, i.e. if you die, you don't actually die, you become immune for 10 seconds and then continue fighting. So there are a few sources of fatal damage ignore in the game. There is Unyielding State, which is a talent. There is the special skill Reappear, which is a skill from Wraith, the Melamon, and then there's a cat bun, the layered cheese bun, which also has a once per battle lethal damage. So those are your three sources of being able to negate one lethal damage. Now, unfortunately, those three sources do not stack. They do not stack, and if you do die and you have all three active, all three get triggered. So unfortunately, you can't stack. But Turning Point is very important because if you're in a very hard fight, this Unyielding State can literally give you the victory where you otherwise would have died out. So for example, when I was pushing early trial progression, there were many fights, for example, like T7. T7, when it first came out, we only cleared because of Turning Point. So that's how that works. Turning Point is extremely important talent. Gunmi asks, for Archmage, how does the haste talent work? I'm struggling with stats. I'm not 100% sure, Gunmi, with the haste for Archmage. I haven't started my scholar guides yet, but let's see. Okami says, I hope higher content doesn't always require you to slot in Turning Point. No, in fact, Okami, I have not run as a DPS. I have not run Turning Point since like 3 or 4 trials ago. Because as you progress further through the harder content, you actually are finding them more of a DPS check, where if you have to use Turning Point to survive the fight, it's too early for you as a DPS, because the DPS loss from running Turning Point is sometimes sufficient enough to not allow you to clear the fight. if you see what I'm saying. Turning Point is good for Trials and Echoes of War. Yes, Vsol. Primarily, that's the main places you would use Turning Point. Correct. The harder content. Nightweaver DPS kind of sucks. Yeah, we went over this Ments at the beginning of the stream. We're hoping for the developers to address this. Mutsu says, for Turning Point, does reset your stacks from Book of Answers? I don't know. That's actually a very good question. I've never thought about that. Does reset remove your stacking pet stacks? I don't think it does. Hold on. How can I test this very quickly? Let me try this. I'm actually curious. I think the easiest is to go into something hard like Echoes of War. This is a very good question. Or no, actually, that's not going to work. Let me go to a trial. Can I not get mercenaries here? Okay, hold on. No, okay. I'm trying to think what the hardest content I can go in with mercenaries is. Probably waves then. Let me go into Torment Waves. Yeah, there we go. So I'm going to go to Torment Waves here, and I'm going to make sure I have Turning Point on with reset, and I'm going to make sure I have Book of Answers on. So I know normally waves will reset your stacks at each boss, but I'll probably die. I'll trigger a death probably before the boss comes anyway. So we want to see if it's gonna reset the stacks of Book of Answers when we die. So let's see. That's a very good question. After TP pops, you lose your pet stacks. Okay, I just want to see it for myself, with my own eyes, so that I can know for sure. But if so, that's very good information. Let's see here. So here's our stack, and then we die. Yeah, look at that. It goes away. You're right. Yeah, so Mutsu, and thanks Styx for confirming that as well. We have official confirmation here that the Turning Point reset does reset your stacks from your Melamon. So that's very, very good information to know. Thanks for asking that question. I actually didn't know the answer to that. I've never looked at it personally. So that's definitely something worth considering. So you have to be careful running reset, actually. It might not always be the best situation to run depending on the fight and conditions. So there you have it. Reset does also reset your Melamon stacks. Interesting. Anyone else have any more talent related questions? Turning Point is useless before Unyielding. Well, yeah, I mean, Turning Point, Unyielding is the only reason why you'd run Turning Point, to be honest with you. Everything else is just okay. Even this final upgrade, like in this final upgrade, everyone when they saw this for the first time all had the same reaction. Oh my god, this should be sick for Dragon, right? But it's just not. It's not that sick, unfortunately. 3 more talent seeds until Domineering Might. This is going to be a nice DPS increase. El Carter says, can you show me Natto's subtalents? Yeah, let's take a look at Natto's subtalents quickly. I believe she's running, yeah, Zealous Burden and Voice. So she's running the crit rate and crit damage. She's running the crit rate and crit damage subtalents. And for her main here, she's running left, left, right, left, left. For this is only showing the main story build. But yeah, she's using Zealous Burden and Voice of Bloodlust, which I think makes total sense. If she needed more determination, she could run the determination plus Bloodlust. But Bloodlust is for sure absolutely worth it. Azalea Dying, should you use XP boosters or not? In what context? In what context? I mean, yes, but specifically, why are you asking that question? Gummy says, thank you for streaming and posting helpful content. I was finally featuring one of the streams. Hey, glad you could make it, Gummy. Thanks for being here. Bradbury says, what's a good talent to replace Turning Point for a tank? So if you're a class change 2 tank, you would run Shield Slam plus Unwavering Bulwark plus Turning Point. So it would be Shield Slam, Unwavering Bulwark, Turning Point would be the 3 that you would run. She doesn't need Vigor anymore, no, Carter. Zone says you messaged Natto on Discord for the code. That's who you should be messaging. It is Natto. That's not a brain fart. That's the correct... She's gonna get you the code, not me. So you did the right thing. You got it, Bradbury. Is Vigor Circle not as good for Eagle Eye in late game? I would have to ask her that question directly, but I believe... I'll put it this way. She wouldn't swap something without doing extensive testing. So if she's running Zealous Burden Voice of Bloodlust, it means that the current state that she's in, maybe with the haste that she has, she's determined that it's no longer needed for her to run Vigor Circle. I don't know if there's necessarily... I don't know if it's stats related. I don't know if it's necessarily related to wailing stats or if it's related to actual talent progression. I'll find out that information for the next time. So right now I have no idea. But presumably if she's not running it, it's not needed. Now it could very well be that she's not running it in main story only, but I'll find out. I'll find out for next stream. We need a reminder not to get the reset if you're running Turning Point, especially at Echoes of War. Just survive the boss rage. Yeah, Arcanaz. Yeah, reset will mess you up actually in that situation.